Hello and welcome back to another episode of Xenoblade Explained. Today we're going to be looking into Faced Mechon, why and how they were created, and the inevitable downfall of the Faced Mechon that occurred within Xenoblade Chronicles. As always, if you enjoy this series and want something else Xenoblade related explaining, then leave a comment down below and I'll add it to the list. But with all that out of the way, let's jump right into the video. So let's start off with the question of why Faced Mechon were created in the first place. In the Battle of Sword Valley, 1 year before the events of Xenoblade Chronicles, the Mechon suffered a defeat primarily due to Dunban and the Monado's power, with the Monado being easily able to slice through Mechon armor. However, the Monado had one glaring weakness, which is that it could not be used to harm anything or anyone that was of the blood of Bionis. You know, excluding literally all of the wildlife and monsters and creatures that live on the Bionis. They're the exception which allows you to cause mass genocide upon them, but primarily any High Entia or Nopon could not be sliced through with the Monado. And this is why Egil seeked a way in which to counter the Monado's power, which is how the concept and idea of the Faced Mechon were born. He then had his Mechon abduct Homs, dead or alive, and transformed them into the central network for the Faced Mechon. As can be seen thanks to Fiora, their Homs' bodies were transformed into one of a mechanical structure and became a machine to run. However, their organs such as heart, lungs and such are left intact for one reason only: to allow Faced Mechon to be immune to the Monado. Egil made it so that the host's blood is pumped all throughout the Mechon armor, which is the red lines that can be seen on Faced Mechon.
What is that light? Other Mechon don't have that. Could that light be why the Monado has no effect?
However, a Hom's body was never designed to be able to pump blood through such a large host as a Faced Mechon. Normally, the machinery within the Faced Mechon would make up the difference and allow circulation to run like normal. However, when the host is exerting themselves, their Hom's heart and circulation can't keep up with the increased output. Think of it the same way when you do sport. Your heart beats much faster and the circulation throughout your body becomes much quicker. However, a Faced Mechon is on average 3 times larger than the average Hom, and the machinery assistants can't make up the difference in this circumstance. This is why the Faced Mechon always retreated prematurely. It was only ever a small detail, but the red lines flowing around their body signifying the Hom's blood turned blue, which was to signify that the host could no longer effectively pump blood throughout all of the armor, which meant that at that particular point in time, the faces were susceptible to the Monado. The effects on a Hom who were transformed into a Faced Mechon pilot were significant as well. The Mechon armor was designed to be permanently attached to the host. However, it is of course shown, thanks to many of the faces, that the Hom's pilot is capable of exiting the Mechon suit, probably designed as a last resort to recycle the host and create another suit of armor. The pilots, however, cannot survive for long outside of the armor due to their bodies being configured to use the Mechon armor as a replacement for things such as an immune system. On a positive note, however, their modified bodies only required water to keep themselves running and sustained, and could potentially live for as long as the Machina if maintained properly, which is a heck of a long time. However, other than being naturally larger and stronger Mechon, the Faced Mechon's ability to repel the Monado unfortunately became irrelevant due to Zanza unlocking the Monado's shackles. Specifically, he unlocks the ability for the Monado to harm others who share his blood, effectively making the Faced Mechon useless in the presence of the Monado once more. And that's why and how the Faced Mechon were created. But now, I'm going to answer a question that literally nobody's asking, with a slight bit of speculation of why were Homs only used used as the hosts of Faced Mechon, as at first glance, High Entia and Nopon should also have been an option. Nopon are fairly simple, as their circulation around their body would have been even worse than a Hom's due to the size of their bodies, which would have resulted in Faced Mechon needing to be smaller to accommodate for the size of a Nopon and its smaller body, as an ordinary Nopon would have never been able to circulate enough blood around a Faced Mechon. However, why not the High Entia, as they're roughly the same size body mass wise of a Homs, and at first glance there's no real reason why a High Entia wouldn't work compared to a Homs. However, there's two possible reasons that I can think of why High Entia weren't used. Possibility number one, Gadolt was already aware that High Entia would eventually transform into Telethia, and was then worried that his weapons would be used against him as Telethia. It's shown at the end of Xenoblade Chronicles that Telethia are clearly able to incorporate machinery into their bodies, specifically when the High Entia army were transformed into Telethia and the Havris that they were riding were integrated into the Telethia, allowing the Telethia to use those weapons. And so it wouldn't have been very good at all if you had Telethia who utilised Mechon armour. They'd be virtually unstoppable. Or possibility number two, we know that Gadolt created the Faced Mechon to counter the Monado after the defeat of Xord Valley. All that's required for a pilot of a Faced Mechon is that their organs are still intact. They do not necessarily need to be living, as shown with Fiora, although she could be the exception thanks to Mayneth. But we're not going to get into that. 2 of the 5 named Faced Mechon are known to have been abducted and taken at the events of the Battle of Xord Valley, being Mumkhar and Metalface and Xord. As we know Xord of being Desiree's father from Colony 9, who participated in the Battle of Xord Valley but was unfortunately lost at war. And so it's likely that the mass-produced Faced Mechon are other Hom soldiers who were captured by the Mechon from Xord Valley, and the reason the High Entia weren't used is they didn't participate in that battle, which is likely the reason that we don't see any High Entia piloting Faced Mechon. But that's all for this episode of Xenoblade Chronicles Explained. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure to smash that subscription button down below so you don't miss out on any of my future episodes of Xenoblade Explained. Also remember to leave any episodes that you'd like to see in the future in the comments. And until next time guys, peace.